Friends, we are extremely fortunate to welcome Joshua Leonard, who is the creator and the animator for Team Supreme. And welcome, and thank you again for taking the time. I'm very thankful you're on Eastern Standard Time because, yeah, I didn't have to get up at 2 in the morning to meet with you. So anyway, so what I'd like to start off with today, friends, is standout points. So I did some research before I obviously do an interview with this amazing human being, but I wanted to just start with the standout points, the things that stood out for me. So the very first thing that you learned to draw was Garfield, and it was your brother that taught you in kindergarten?
Yes.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad I got that correct. Okay. And another standout point, and this really, this is fantastic, especially right now. This is Black History Month. So we are celebrating and honoring so many different things in Campus Connect with Black history. But what I think is amazing is moving forward with this so that hopefully we just keep watching this and reflecting on this really incredible point. So you are part of the small and less than 3 percentile of Black animators. So kids that might not understand the math of this, okay, imagine for a moment you have 100 people making those amazing animations you so love, and less than 3 of those people would be Black. So Joshua is amongst one of those people. This is what inspired you to want to make something, and I quote you here, hopefully I don't misquote you, something so dope and so different outside of the box that includes everybody. So friends, right. That means everybody from head to toe, no matter how fast or slow you grow, there's a light inside you waiting to glow. And this is what inspired your animation, Team Supreme. So can you speak to that, Joshua? Yes. When you're thinking everybody, I want to just understand, how does that inspire your creation and your vision for Team Supreme?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here to speak to you and these amazing students. And real quick, I'm actually a character designer. I'm also an animator, but I do character design for Netflix right now. So Team Supreme came from the idea of me. I'm really big on diversity and inclusion, super big on that. I want to normalize being different. So, everybody's different, but everybody almost acts the same. They want to look the same. So my thing is, well, the things that make us different is that's what makes everybody so special. So that's me normalizing it. So I came up with this idea. So not only is the animation industry less than 3%, it might be a little bit more now, it may be 4% now. But I didn't see a lot of people that look like me. I didn't see a lot of different looking people in the industry. So my thing was, not only are they not hiring people that look like me enough, I don't see any people who have special needs, any disabilities, stuff like that. So it was just me stepping outside of this box and really wanted to make something different that really included everybody, every race, every culture, every nationality, things like that. So that's where Team Supreme came from. And me being a military brat, I grew up everywhere and around all types of different people. And I love everybody, So I wanted to see a character in a wheelchair. I wanted to see a character that had one arm, an amputee, a character with sickle cell, a character who was deaf, blind. And Marvel and Stan Lee kind of touched on these certain characters. Daredevil is blind. It's not many though, and nobody has done it the way I'm gonna do it. And one thing about my characters, I don't know if you can see my main character Zeke in the back with the high top haircut right here. So he is on the autism spectrum. And a lot of people don't know that I gave him the high top fade because I wanted to show like an episode of how difficult it is when someone on the autism spectrum, not all of them, but it's very difficult for them to get haircuts. So they don't like the vibration, they don't like the sound. So when I'm learning all of these, learning about all these different disabilities and special needs, I kind of fell in love with this stuff. And I think it's good for everybody. not just the kids with disabilities, but it will teach people who don't know about these disabilities how special and the type of superpowers these people actually have, because that's what it is. I work with people who are on the autism spectrum. I work with people who are deaf. My writer is she's actually deaf. So I mean, it's amazing what the human mind and the human body can accomplish. So that's kind of where this came from.
That's incredible. And we are so thankful that you did this. The world is not the same. So that I want to just move on to the next standout point. So you watch the children of your friends with children with special needs so that you could fully honor their truth and their story.
Yeah.
So these characters really in Team Supreme are based on real kids and real stories. Now that's beautiful. That is beautiful. So can you speak to us a little bit about that? I mean, like, what was it like following these lovelies around and having them think, who is this guy and why is he staring at me? Right? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I actually came up with these characters on my own, and then as I developed them more, I was able to meet people who have kids with these disabilities or even adults. So I mean, just being able to learn and communicate with them and to meet them was amazing. You know, the kids are always so happy anyway. About 2 years ago, I spoke at Novartis for a disability mentoring day out there, and there was about 100 kids with disabilities, and they were seniors, so they're about to graduate. So I was kind of prepping them for, you know, just letting them know, like, you can do whatever you want. It's out there, you know, especially with me being in the industry now and like the brand and what I believe in as far as hiring people, different types of people. I'm going to make a way for all of these, you know, everybody should be able to write, draw, create, tell stories. But just being able to be around people with disabilities or special needs is amazing to me. I work with a kid. I say he's a kid. He's probably my age, but he has autism, and his name is David, and he is unbelievably brilliant. And he always tells me like he has a learning disability, and I'm like, what? You know, to him he has a learning disability, but to me, I'm hearing every single definition, every number. He remembers, like, his thing is numbers and sports. And when I think I know sports and I think I'm pretty smart, but when I talk to David, oh, he humbles me real fast, you know, just like, he remembers how many people were in the stands in 1950 at this baseball game. And, you know, Michael Jordan was wearing these shoes with these laces and he had them tied twice. And I'm like, man, what? You know, and I'm hearing that and I could never remember anything like that to the detail of it. So just seeing things like that is it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. And I also work with a guy who was deaf, and he was an older guy, but he was hilarious for somebody that didn't make any noise. And I always used to tell him, like, man, you the quietest, but you're the loudest. Like, he was just hilarious. And I remember he would drive to work. He had a truck, and he would have the windows down, and he was hanging out of the truck. And he had like rap music playing really loud. And I would ask him, like, how can you hear the music? And he told me he feels the vibrations. And I never knew that. And I'm seeing that stuff and I'm learning, I'm hearing it. I'm like, man, that is amazing. So that's where I came up with Thumper, who is deaf. So he'll have a cochlear implant and he sees or he feels sounds and stuff like that. So that's being able to be around people who are differently abled has opened up my eyes. And that's what I feel like my cartoon would do for the world. Because a lot of people are afraid of what they don't understand. So I feel like if we can teach everybody, or we can show kids that it's okay to have this, you know, I think we all have a disability somewhere. I know I do. So we just need to normalize it. We need to normalize being different. And because when I'm around these kids, I don't see anybody that's no different than me, even though they may be in a wheelchair or, cerebral palsy. I know too many people who are just amazing with disabilities and special needs. So just being around them helped me to realize like this is amazing. Like there's nothing what society deems as disability. I see it as a superpower. So I was able to really learn a lot from being around them.
I love the way you think, and I love the fact that you are pressing forward with this beautiful perception, because we need to change the way we look at things. We need to change the lens through which we are seeing things. You know, it's almost like remove the definition and look to the soul and the core of a person, and what they are able to do and how they are able to express themselves and to share their beautiful creations. Like, and it's going to tie into this last standout point before we get on to the question from the kids. But one of the quotes that you share that your father inspired you with was, when somebody is motivated by excellence, success follows. So since some of our friends listening might not understand that whole idea of excellence, can you speak to them about what excellence means to them, or what it might mean to them as they dream their dreams forward?
Sure. Yeah, excellence, you know, as it pertains to my situation is, you know, putting your best foot forward, doing your best. My father, I'm a military brat, like I said. So my father always raised me to be a man of integrity. So the easiest way I can put integrity is, and my dad always told me, it was like, integrity is not what you do when somebody is watching you. It's what you do when they're not watching. So it's easy for me to be good while teachers are looking at me, or, you know, if I was a kid, an adult is looking at me and I can't do this and that. But when they turn away, am I going to grab that? Am I going to try to steal this item, or no? So I've always been a person of integrity. I think that's one thing that brings excellence in a human being. And I have a 15-year-old daughter, so I always tell her, man, like, it's easy, it's free, and it's easy to be a good human being. It is easy and it's free. Like, it takes just do the right thing. You know, and I think that's kind of where my father was getting to. You know, if you're good at something, go after it. Do whatever makes you happy, but do it to the best of your ability. Take pride in your work. I tell students that all the time. You know, they'll tell me they want to be, you know, I want to make cartoons. Well, how bad do you want to make it? Because there's going to be some days you're going to stay up till 3 a.m. having to animate and you know, and draw and learn and get better and grow. Because you're not only competing with your peers, you're competing with people like me who are already in the industry, you know. So you definitely have to learn as much as you can, grow. You have to stay humble. Humility is a big deal. Especially in this industry, because it could be a snap of the finger, you know, like Thanos, and you can be out of there. So, definitely excellence is just being a person, a human being of integrity, doing the right thing, working hard, staying humble, giving back, you know. And that's why I love speaking to people, kids, and for sure, all about helping the next generation and kind of plug in information, everything that I'm learning. I'm never going to feel like I've learned enough. I'm always, excuse me, I'm 37 years old. So I'm always never going to stop trying to learn something new.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. All right. So that's moves us along to the questions from our lovely children. Quite young, I must say. So our first class is actually a class of grade 2s. Ms. McGarvey's grade 2 class.
Awesome.
Kavish, Alex, and Diane want to know, when did you start making animation of people?
I would say like high school is when I kind of figured out like, okay, I want to do this for a living. And because I was an athlete first. I had football scholarships, track. I played baseball, basketball, any sport. I played hockey, but I never stopped drawing. So I've always knew I wanted to make cartoons, but started really young. Like I said, my brother taught me how to draw Garfield when I was in kindergarten, and from then on, I loved it. I've never put the pen down unless I had like a football in my hand or something. But I always had that backdrop to want to come back and draw. So good question.
That's awesome. Thank you. And in reference to the Team Supreme group photo, Evan and Keenan ask, how did you put your real life self in that picture?
That's a really good question. Well, I also used to be a graphic designer. So what a graphic designer does is anything you see, whether it be a bottled water, like this is all graphic design. Everything you see is graphic design. Um, and I've learned graphic design for like probably 15 years of that. So I do a lot of photo shoots, and I usually wear a suit because I like to brand myself. Usually animators don't really look like me and dress like me, but I like to carry myself. Um, I like to be as professional as possible. And I took that photo of me sitting down with the suit on, and I was like, man, I want to. And Disney does it all the time. He'll be sitting down, he'll have Mickey Mouse over his shoulder, and I've done all that stuff already. But I wanted to really match my photo that I was in there with. So I wanted to dress the kids up and put them in their suits and dresses and I like almost like a family photo. So I just drew the characters on my actual image, and it turned out pretty good.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, so Cynthia, Sabrina, and Alyssa ask a similar question that you already spoke to in your explanation about everybody in your work. But if you want to add anything here, that's great. But here's what they want to know. Why are you interested in making animation? Who is it for?
Good question. So I'm interested in making animation because I think animation is one of the best, teaching points, especially for kids. Like kids get to see it first. Like I think animation tells the story better than anything. Because you guys can relate to it. You like the comedy of it. You like the artwork in it, the colors. So I feel like I wanted to make animations to tell stories and tell specific types of stories that everybody can relate to. And it's fun. It's really cool. I enjoy doing it. You know, I love to draw, and I love to see my characters come to life as well. So really good question.
So Niall wants to know how you became so good at animation, which ties in perfectly with Watson's question. What kind of schooling did you have to learn animation?
Yeah, really good question. So I grew up drawing. Like I said, I started off in kindergarten, maybe a little younger than you guys, and I just never stopped drawing. Like I always wanted to get better and better and better. So I took art classes every year in school, elementary, high school, and then I got to college, and the classes got a little harder, but still fun. And when I say harder, more work. That's pretty much all that is more work. Let's see. And what was the other half of the question?
So yeah, just basically, how did you become so good at it?
Oh, okay, yeah, and that's just me wanting to grow. I have tons of books right here, and um, one of the main things is learning like the anatomy, how the human body is put together, the muscles, how they overlap, and you know, I definitely learned a lot about anatomy. I had a 6-hour anatomy class in at the Art Institute. So I did go to art school. I remember that was part of the question. I did go to the Art Institute of Atlanta out here, and that's why I actually learned how to animate and how to do character design. But I also already knew how to draw prior to me going to college. So whatever you do, don't start learning how to draw right when you want to go to college. Like start learning now. That way when you get there, you'll have a way better chance of landing a job when you graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. Good advice. Good advice. So I think that also ties in nicely to a question that a few of our friends like Aisha and Audrey have, who want to know, how do you make the animation and how do you make it seem so real?
That's a good question. I draw on something called a Wacom Cintiq, and what that is, it's a big computer monitor that you draw directly on. So I draw right on that thing. I still draw on paper and all of that too. I still paint, but drawing on that monitor is it's called digital art. So it's a lot quicker. I can make the colors more vibrant and stuff like that. But making it look real, that comes with learning how to do the lighting, the shadows. I can really make stuff pop. And I think that's kind of what people enjoy about my artwork is how I light my characters. I usually always put like a really bright pink over here or a green over here and really make it look like there's light on both sides. And people tend to like that part of my artwork. But that's really it. I still love to draw on paper. You know, if I don't have my Cintiq around, I will old school pen and paper, pencils, you know. Yeah, and even when I was younger, I was drawing with crayons and holding the crayon with a full fist, coloring like that. But it worked for me. So
Drawn like a sport, right?
Yeah,
like
that's right.
a sport, like a football, right?
Football,
My
right.
sons love you. My sons love football. They're in love with Brian Dawkins. Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so now we have Mrs. Dale's grade 2 class questions. So Lucas asks a few questions, some that have already been asked by Ms. McGarvey's class. So I will just take a couple that have not yet been asked. So what is the robot name?
Oh, yes. Good question. That's actually just Mech. So Mech is my character right here. That's one of my favorite characters. He's in the wheelchair back there. I don't know if you guys can see him. But he's in the wheelchair. So Mech has spina bifida, and we'll just call him Mech. So Mech cannot walk. He's paralyzed. So what he'll do with this robot, and a lot of people don't know that, he'll roll into this big Mech robot suit, and that's when he'll take control of this thing, and that's going to be awesome. Good question.
Yeah, and Lucas also wants to know, who is the leader?
Yes. So the leader is actually that big guy back there. So he's actually based on my best friend who passed away in 2008. His name is Brent Jackson. And so we call him Dr. Jackson. And the funny thing is he does not have superpowers. It's going to be, that's where the comedic part will come in. It'll be funny with this guy trying to keep up with these kids who have superpowers and he doesn't. So he's trying to, he's overprotective, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in the actual team, Zeke will be the leader. Like he'll be the more quiet one because he's on the autism spectrum. So he'll talk, but he won't talk too much. But yeah, he'll be more the leader.
I love that. Thank you. So Tanvi wants to know, when are you going to post the new movie?
Oh, really good question. That's a tough one because I don't know when it's coming out, and it'll probably be a cartoon show before a movie. But it's in the animation industry, it is very difficult to get your show picked up by Disney or Netflix. I work at Netflix right now, and they haven't picked it up yet. So it's a long process. But I have an awesome team that are still working and trying to get it developed and picked up or even funded. So I'll definitely keep you posted because I cannot wait for everybody to see these type of characters and for me to tell these type of stories. So really good question. So
another friend from Mrs. Dale's class wants to know, when are you going to have it published? Feeling the pressure?
Yeah, I'm feeling some pressure. Yeah, they're like, man, hurry up. No, I did talk to my team yesterday, and I definitely want to make like a book and all of this stuff, a comic. Maybe this year, we'll see. 2021 is going to be an amazing year for me. So I definitely want to start moving some stuff forward.
Well, we're going to wish that upon you.
Thank you.
So now from our final class, which is, and please forgive me, teacher, if I'm mispronouncing your name, and that goes for the children's names too that I don't teach. Mrs. Bentatua's class, grade 1 class. So we begin with a question from both Manvi and Zoya, who ask, did you have help making your superheroes?
I didn't have help drawing them, but I did have help developing them. And when I say developing, that means I had to do research on these characters, on their special needs, their you know, their superpowers, stuff like that. So yeah, you can say I did have help. Yeah, you definitely have to have a team, or should have a team, and that's where the diversity and inclusion comes on. So comes in. And the cool thing about my cartoon that most cartoon creators won't have is I'll actually have people with disabilities working on my show. I will have them in my writer's room. So my friend, my writer Giselle, who's deaf, she also writes for Disney. She'll also have a, you know, she'll get to pick other writers with disabilities and stuff like that, and we'll have a whole little ball of good stories to tell from all angles. And that's what you want when you're making a cartoon. You want to get as many diverse stories in there and ideas possible. That way you can really kind of touch on all bases.
Brilliant.
Really good question.
So Aiden and Sheev ask, how many days did you take? So maybe just speak on how many days it takes to make one episode.
Ooh, that one episode will take probably, I want to say, a month or two. Like, it is a very tedious job. So if you're not familiar with animation, so here's what I mean. And I think a lot of people don't realize how tedious it is. So when I say animation, for me to just wave from left to right like this could take 20 drawings just to do this right here, just 20 drawings. So you have to keep that in mind. And that's an easy pose, this one right here. When you're talking about fight scenes and action scenes, it is a long process. And that's why it costs so much money to make it. And you know, when people hear, you know, when Disney and Pixar put out movies every 4 years, it takes 4 years for them to put out a film, and Disney has the top of the top, you know, in Pixar. So yeah, it takes a long time. So just for one episode, it could definitely take a month or two. And then you know, you got voiceover actors. People have to come in and read the script. You have to draw all the scenes. You got to draw the backgrounds. You got to add the special effects. So that's post-production, which is the stuff at the end when everything is set up. And then you have pre-production. I'm more pre-production, which is like the character designs, the development, visual development, which is what you know, what scenes will look like. So they kind of draw a scene, and then storyboarders. So it's a huge process.
Yeah. Well, it actually ties in nicely. Ariana wants to know, how do you make the move? As I say, it ties in nicely with the previous answer and why it takes so long to make the animation.
Yeah. So I'm actually a 2D frame by frame animator, which what that means is, like I said, from here to here, I have to do about 20 drawings. Now they have something called puppet animation. So what that means, say they wanted to make one of my characters move, they have something called a rig. And that's what Toon Boom also does out there in Canada. They have the ability to rig a character. And what rigging is basically just putting the bones in each, you know, if I wanted to make his arm bend, I would rig it to put a pivot right there, and then his arm will do like this, almost like a puppet. So you're basically building a puppet with the cartoon, and you can move it like that. So that's a little more easy. It takes way less more time than the original way that I do it, which is frame by frame, and like Disney used to do it, even flipping that big old paper book, you know. So puppet animation that's kind of where they're going now as far as TV. But movies, they're going to use frame by frame animation, but it takes a long time.
Well, Austina wants to know, how do they use their superpowers?
Really good question. So we're still developing certain things. So Zeke, he'll be able to slow down time because his mind is ridiculously crazy. He is brilliant. Let me see. Lee is blind, so I think I believe we had her like hearing like the way she hears is how she sees. She can't see, but her hearing is amazing. This is Sweet Pea, and that's Zeke's little sister. So originally we gave her sickle cell, but I wanted to take sickle cell away. We didn't want to give her a disability because we wanted to show how a brother and a sister, one with a disability and one without, kind of get along. Mech is the one in the wheelchair. That's one of my favorite ones. So Mech has spinal bifida. He's just good with his hands. He likes to build stuff, which is where the robot comes from. So he likes video games, so he controls all these stuff. He's more STEM, science stuff, just like Dr. Jackson is. He's a doctor, so he likes scientific, STEM technology type things. Thumper is he's deaf, so like I said, he can feel sound and energy and things like that. But that's pretty much it. Those are my main characters. I do have a ton more that we will introduce in certain episodes, and I really want a whole Marvel universe type feel to this thing. I want a universe full of superheroes with disabilities, even villains with disabilities. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Good question.
Well, she wants to know, do you have any special superpowers?
Wow. That's a really good question. I think I do. I think one thing about me, I think I have a super heart. I'm very giving and loving, and I just want people to love each other. And of course, I can draw. I think drawing is a superpower in itself. For me to actually be able to look at something and not take a picture of it, but my mind can calculate, okay, this eye goes here, this goes here. For me to break down a face and draw it, or just draw anything, I think that is a form of superpower. We all have superpowers, so we just have to find out what they are. Really good question.
I love that. I love how you explain that. That's beautiful. Yazid wants to know, why is it called Supreme?
Yes, really good question. Man, you guys are good. These are tough questions. So Team Supreme, first of all, it rhymes. So real good question. It rhymes, and that goes along with how I feel about people who have a disability or special need. There's a video that I saw. It's a guy, he has autism. He's an older guy, and I'm not sure if you saw it, but they flew him over New York City skyline one time, and they put him in front of a blank wall and gave him like markers. He was able to his mind, he drew the whole skyline after seeing it one time with just a couple of markers, and it looked just like New York. So it's stuff like that. I've seen somebody, the amputee, who didn't have any legs, but his upper body strength, he's he climbs rock walls, and he doesn't wear a harness. He pulls his wheelchair up along with him as he's climbing, and he doesn't have legs. I can't do that with legs and all my limbs. So to see stuff like that is remarkable. And that's what I mean by Supreme. So they're a team and they're Supreme.
Great.
It's a really good question.
Great explanation. I can't say that word. Beloved explanation. Okay. Nadia wants to know, are you going to add a pet as a superhero?
I want to. Yeah, I definitely want to. That's funny you asked that. That's a real good question, because about 3 days ago, I work at Home Depot as well, full time. So when I come home from Home Depot, I work for Netflix. So my days are really busy. So at Home Depot, they're allowed to bring animals in there. And a young girl was in there, and she had a dog, and the dog had 3 legs. So I took a picture of the dog and I shared it on my Team Supreme page, and I tagged it like, oh, this is also Team Supreme as well. This dog has 3 legs, and the tail was wagged. He doesn't know he has 3 legs. He was happy. So when I see that, I definitely want to add an animal to it. It doesn't have to be a dog. It could be a cat. It could be anything, any animal. So I definitely want to, though, for sure.
So let's bring this around to a great and final question from Kira, who asks, why do you have superhero children?
Really good question. So I think I have Team Supreme as kids. I have them as teens as well. So I'm kind of touching on both of those. But I figured if you start them off as children, like you guys are, I mean, you guys are the future. So I feel like if you see yourself on camera or in a cartoon, you'll really be motivated. And oh, that character looks like me. He acts like me. Um, that's how we can get our point across. We can tell our stories. We can teach with these younger characters. Even though a lot of kids they watch up, like they watch older, Batman, and and Batman is more of an adult cartoon. But the young kids they like Spider-Man and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I made like a high school version as well. But I also have the younger version as well. So just in case we kind of touch on all bases. So yeah, that's a really good question. That's a really good question.
Well, I just want to say, Joshua, on behalf of DDSB at Home Campus Connect, and all the teachers and all the students, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your heart, to share your stories, and to take like I said, I can't say enough how much we appreciate and value the time that you took.
Absolutely.
And we honor that in you. So I just want to ask you this. Is there anything that you would like to say to our kids that might inspire them to take something that is unique within them, something that they might see as a flaw or a weakness, and how to turn it into something that is world changing?
Yes, definitely. Don't necessarily listen to what society calls, beautiful or great or amazing. We're all beautiful. We're all different. Like I said, everybody being different is what makes us all so special. So if you're good at something and you don't feel like, I'm not good enough for this or that, or somebody says you're not, go after it anyway. If that's what you want to do whatever makes you happy. And when I say whatever makes you happy, the money doesn't matter. Go after whatever you feel like you want to do. Like I said, stay humble, try to learn as much as you can. Just do your best. Do your best work. Everybody is good at something. Find out what you're good at and really go after it. So that's a good question as well.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Joshua.
You're welcome.